For people who want to know what is the KeithAndrewNetwork, the whole point of my talk show is to show you that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be, so prove them and still amount to something. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith Andrew, and welcome to the Keith Andrew Network. Today, it is episode 956. Today, we have an upcoming CEO, producer, writer that will be on the Keith Andrew Network. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe to the Keith Andrew Network. It's available on all social media. So when we come back from this commercial break, we're going to hear from our guests.
Hello, my name is Kaitlyn Sokolich. I'm a producer, writer, and director from Katastrophic Films. I'm here today being interviewed by Keith Andrews. Well, my name is Kaitlyn Sokolich, and I'm from South Florida, raised in Naples, Florida, and I got into film in about 2015. And I did a lot of film production in high school, which led me to go to a film production college here in St. Pete. For the most part, most of my life is film. I've done short films, feature films. I'm traveling to and from states to work on films. So that's pretty much about me.
No, absolutely. So the next question I want to ask you is two questions in one. What did you, obviously you are in film, so this is going to sound like an oxymoron, but I'm going to ask anyway. What did you major in when you were in college? And were you a study nerd or party animal?
So I studied, I was a major in film studies and entrepreneurship because I'm really big into business. And I was more of a study bird. I did not like the parties. I tried it out and I was like, there's nothing fun about hanging out with a bunch of weird college kids.
No, absolutely. So the next one I want to ask, did you do any sports growing up? And did you ever want to be a professional sport athlete?
I did track and field and cross country in middle school, but I never really wanted to be an athlete.
For me, I'm not good with the whole hand-eye coordination. But for anyone who's seen Jungle Book, you see why. When they're all marching, they pile up. I never wanted. It's funny to watch, but I never wanted to be the cause of it.
Mm-hmm.
So do you ever question? Oh, hang on. I'm getting a little Facebook scam call. I always get those stupid scam calls. They're really annoying.
Oh, I do all the time.
And it doesn't matter how many times you block them because they still call you from a different number.
I know. It's weird.
So before we ask you the hard-hitting questions, I want to ask you throw in a curveball. For out of all the things that you did and willing to do, did you ever get the chance to do one of those human pyramids, or you're not into the whole human pyramid stuff?
I've never done a human pyramid scheme thing. Yeah, I don't even know if I know anybody in my own industry that's into that. I know some people in high school, but not me.
I love that stuff. I'm a loser. A lot of people think I'm still childish, but getting old sucks. So being a little childish and doing these outgoing things, hey, it doesn't hurt to be different.
Yeah.
Live only once. Now we got to the easy questions out of it. Now we're going to go to the hard-hitting ones, the heart of the matter. You created your very own company. You're a producer. You're a writer. So the first question I want to ask you is, who inspired you to get into this kind of work?
So I have to give it to Steven Spielberg for leading me into film and wanting to be a director. I grew up on watching a lot of his films. My parents actually used to have movie nights when we were kids growing up. So, I've always been around film. In terms of starting a business, both my parents are huge influences in that. They have about 2 businesses that they run independently, and watching them do their own business, I was like, why not start my own?
Now, with that being said, they are more than welcome to be on the show. Hell, the more the better. And out of everyone in your family, are you the youngest, oldest, and do they fall in your parents' footsteps?
I'm the middle child, so my younger brother doesn't really follow my parents' footsteps. He kind of did his own thing. And my sister, she's really into baking, so she likes working under corporations for baking. She's actually working towards being a manager at Publix.
Oh, nice. Congrats. So this is a question you may get in. Oh, so I can't even talk. Long day. This is a question you may gotten in the past, or you may get it in the future. What makes you different from the competition?
I think what makes me different is how I approach my films. I'm very artistic and I love stylized shots, so I use a lot of stylized within my film. I also love the use of montages and mise en scène, rather that being hair and makeup or little things in wardrobe. Just little things where some people will have to watch it twice to be like, oh, I didn't even notice that. I'm very particular and artistic on how I compose a shot and how I want the shot to be executed.
So, out of all your films, what is coming up on the horizon for you? Would you be interested in working with someone with disabilities, or do you have anything that I'm trying to find a word smart? Have you? Well, actually, that's a good subject. I'm going to ask you right now. Shooting myself in the foot. Have you worked with people besides me? Have you worked with people with disabilities? And would you be interested in doing a film production about disabilities?
I actually did a music video for people who have hearing disabilities, and we did it in sign language, which was super cool. But in terms of doing short films and feature films, I don't think I ever really worked with anybody with any said disability, and I would love to be more diverse in that.
Hey, absolutely. I'm always up for anything. I always do a lot of fan made parodies as well. I know it's not great or fun, but for my show, I do interviews. I interview everyone. The Keith Andrew Network is a variety show. So we have wrestling, actors, people from Blue Bloods, people from General Hospital, Young and the Restless. And they're like, okay, that's great. What else do you do? So we have a lot of fun with the voiceovers. We have video challenges for the younger audience. So there is something always available for the younger audience. And I would love to partner up and maybe we can collaborate. And that's the thing about the business is about networking and collaborating.
Yeah, I'd love to.
So the next one I'm going to ask you is what's the name of your company and who inspired you to give you that name?
So the name for my company is Katastrophic Films, and I remember being in the kitchen trying to figure out a good company name. I wanted something that was unique and something that stood out. And it wasn't until my dad looked at me and he was like, Catastrophic Films, because I go by Cat. And I was like, that is so unique. So that's kind of just how I got my name and I stuck with it.
It's funny. My initials are KAM, and they're like, "Oh, it's Cam," and I was like, "That's stupid. How are you gonna make that, into a hashtag?" And I was thinking, because I like professional wrestling. There's a wrestler called a Baker, Dr. Baker,
hmm
and she calls herself DMD. And I'm thinking, okay, how can I do my initials KAM? So I'm thinking, what starts with a K? What starts with an A? Kicking ass matters. So that's my initials to the Keith Andrew Network. Kicking ass matters.
That's awesome.
I might come up with something better, but for right now, that's actually something. Hey, it's better than can, right?
Yeah.
So the next one I want to ask you is you are a video specialist. So what video software are you fantastic at? For me, I've been using iMovie for the past 22 years. What do you use?
I use a lot of Adobe products like Adobe Premiere, Adobe After Effects. That's primarily the two that I go when I edit or I do other editing projects. That's mainly the softwares that I use.
Hey, I'm willing to hire you if you want to teach me how to use that. It looks fantastic. It looks amazing. I downloaded it. It's like, oh, I've been using iMovie for 20 to 2 years. What's the worst can happen? I looked at Adobe and I'm like, what the hell am I even looking at? It was like too much.
Yeah, it's definitely a different language if you go in there and you have no idea what you're doing.
Now, the number one I want to ask you is you are a producer. Have you worked with anyone famous besides me? Yeah, tuning my own horn. But seriously, have you worked with anyone famous? And what famous people do you want to work with?
I have, in fact, worked with famous people. I worked with Sean Astin back in April with Naomi Grossman, David Faustino, and Corin Nemec. Um, so I worked with them on a Lionsgate film, and I would really love to work with Johnny Depp. Like, and Finn Wolfhard, those two, like, with my feature film, I'm trying to get Finn Wolfhard to play and to star in my feature film. I would love to work with him in a heartbeat.
Hey, I'm throwing it out there. Please hire me because I would. You don't even have to pay me. I do it for free. And by going back to what you mentioned about Sean Aspen, absolutely doing a shout out about Sean Aspen, a great guy. I got the chance to meet him at New York Comic Con.
He's awesome. He's the friendliest person ever. I was so nervous to meet him. He was the first famous person I ever met, and he like came in and he was like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, "Oh my God, you're so nice. You're just like all of us."
Now, if you ask me which one of the hobbits was he, I can't remember if he was Pippin or the other one. But regardless, I think I met both of them actually.
Yeah.
Fantastic guys. And it's a funny story about that. When I went to Comic Con, everyone makes fun of me because I walk around with a wank rank wrestling belt. It's not a wrestling belt. I'm not a wrestler. It is a wrestling belt, but it's a talk show championship. So I took pictures with every celebrity I met. Are you a Dragon Ball fan?
I can't say I am.
Shame on you. Just kidding. But I met Chris Sabath. He does the voice of Vegeta. I met Sean Schimmel, really nice. He does the voice of Goku. When I met Sean Aspen, he took the picture with the championship. I can show you when we're off the air. It's really funny. But
That's
the
awesome.
reason. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said that's awesome. I would love to see the picture.
For me, it's. People are like, oh, well, you can hold the bell. I'm like, no, 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 no. I want you to hold the bell. If we ever meet in person, I want you to hold the bell because it means more saying, hey, what is the Keith Andrew Network? Very easy. So if you take a picture together, you tell people he has a disability. He supports people with disabilities. And the belt symbolizes, I talk with my hands a lot, the belt symbolizes 9.5 years of my hard work. So having someone famous hold the belt, it just adds another cornerstone, or you want to throw a penny at it. I like the cornerstone saying, hey, if they support it, you support it too. And it's
Hmm.
absolutely amazing. It's really funny, all these different celebrities. God rest her soul, before she passed away, I met the woman who did Warhora.
Hmm.
And she even asked me about the belt. Of course, I couldn't get into a long, lengthy conversation, but, I told her briefly, I have a talk show, I have a disability. And she liked it. So, anyone out there, go to the Keith Andrew Network Facebook fan page, New York Comic Con. You get to see the pictures. This is not about me, this is about you. But
That's
the other.
so awesome, though. Congratulations.
No, I appreciate that. Next one I want to ask you about writing. Have you ever thought about creating a disabled character for any of your films?
I have, but the problem with that is that I don't know how to like portray them well, and I would hate to portray them in such a wrong way. So when I do make characters that I can't relate to or I know need other people's point of views on it, I make sure to always go to specialists and to the people who actually are living with said disabilities so I don't mess anything up.
A lot of people criticize me for this, but I want to add too. Are you a fan of The Big Bang Theory?
I am.
Love that show. It's really great.
Hmm.
Reason I bring that up, there's a lot of controversy about Sheldon. Do you think that he makes fun of people with disabilities, or do you think he just plays the character?
I think he just plays the character. I don't think, after watching it so many times, I don't think he ever made fun of anybody. I wouldn't think of it that way. Unless you think of it that way.
No, absolutely not. Reason I bring it up is I worked in a retail store, won't mention there, but during the break I decided, hey, we have a TV, let's watch something funny. And so this kid who supposedly happens to have another disability and says, I take offense at you laughing at this character, meaning Sheldon. He portrays someone who has disabilities, and you're supposed to be an advocate for disabilities. How can you laugh at disabilities? First off, if you can't laugh at yourself, you're an idiot. And I laugh at stupid things. For an example, my step nephew said the word fart. I thought it was funny. And he's like, oh, you're so childish. That's going back to what I asked you in the beginning of the show. There's nothing wrong at being childish. It doesn't hurt anyone. Doesn't mean you're better than anyone. If you can't laugh, as long as it's not offensive and you're not hurting somebody, laugh at stupid shit.
Hmm.
That's it. You don't give me this whole politically correctness of you can't say this, you can't say that. If it's not hurting somebody, the hell is you. I will laugh at it because at the end of the day, you live only once. Don't take it so damn personally. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, I 100% agree.
So I'm going to ask you, actually, let's do something fun that I haven't really done. I'm going to pass it over to you. Uncensored, freedom of speech, self-expression. I want to get you fired up. What
Okay.
are you passionate about?
What am I passionate about? Oh God. Mental health. I'm very passionate about mental health.
What about it gets you fired up about mental health?
The failed mental health system we have in the United States. The moment you turn 18, it's like everybody wipes their hands and walks away from you. I know way too many people who are over the age of 18 who need professional help but don't see that they need professional help and should be mandatorily sent to like a crisis unit to get the proper help they need. But because they're 18, they can't do that.
Well, let me ask you this because I heard it today on the news. Do you think it's mental illness or the guy is just bonkers? Because if you would say to someone, hey, I want to go surfing on the Long Island Railroad, do you think that's normal or do you think this guy, it's just batshit crazy?
I mean, that's a good question. I think that a lot of people do really dumb shit a lot. Which may separate itself from mental illnesses. But then again, we do have type 1 bipolar disorder. And when people are in manic episodes, they kind of do crazy stuff. So it's really hard to tell who's mentally ill and who's just dumb.
Well, let's look at it like this. Do you think it's no? If I told you that tomorrow, I won't do it, but I'm just saying, tomorrow I'm gonna sit on the New Jersey Transit, and as it moves, I'm gonna do like a selfie of it. Do you think that's something wrong with that?
Yeah, I would think that's very bizarre, and I'd probably try to talk you out of it.
I mean, hey, you want to skydive? I wouldn't really say that's normal, but you have a parachute.
Yeah.
If there was a long time ago where someone parachuted off the World Trade Tower, and I think something they were trying to climb the Empire State Building with a parachute. Keyword: you had a parachute randomly sitting on top of a train that goes 70 miles per hour, or maybe one faster than that. You belong in a straitjacket. There's,
Yeah.
there's absolutely nothing normal about that. But
Anyway.
but you can't fix stupid. But good news about that is you can numb it with a 2x4. Or what I was told from a nurse, you can sedate it. But I love that I can make you laugh. Now, do you have any funny stories that you would like to share?
Any funny stories? I don't know. It's like I'm blanking right now, but I know the moment we get off of this, I'm gonna think of a funny story.
Well, you would probably like this one. Stupid things that I do that aren't funny at the time, but they were funny down the road. I worked at the store. I worked from, I just thrown out there. They had me on the block list anyway. I'm on the exchange. And this guy walked in. And he said to me, do you have an extra small shirt? I'm thinking, oh, well, first off, you're bigger than me, because he's wider. Not saying he's fat, he's muscular. And he's like, you want an extra small? Okay, right on. Here you go. Oh, it's not. And it's like, oh, I need it. Okay, I guess it's for you. Oh, don't worry. You can put it in the dryer. It will shrink. And there you go. You can make it small. It's not for me. It's my son. Well, couldn't you just say, hey, do you have an extra small shirt? It's for my son.
Yeah.
Not giving me the imagination of this guy who can freaking press a building, not a building, a bench over his head saying, I want an extra small shirt. And it's so stupid, but the point is, I'm horrible at telling funny stories. The point is, it wasn't for him, but I assume it was for him. It's like, this guy's small. Put it in the dryer, it will shrink. Turns out it wasn't for him, it was his son. But
I feel so awkward if that was me.
for me, when I'm funny, it isn't funny. If I'm sarcastic, it's funny. Go figure on how that works.
I feel that. Sometimes the funniest things will happen to me and I'll try to repeat it to people and I'm like, oh, it doesn't sound funny anymore. But in my head, it sounds hilarious.
No, I agree. So the next question I want to ask you is, what is coming up on the horizon for you?
I do have a feature film that I have written and I'm going to be directing it called No ID, which is a true life story on my brother. It tackles themes on failed mental health and drug abuse, codependency, and losing your sense of identity. That's going to be hopefully shot fall of 2023, and right now we're looking for investors and getting some finances for the film. Trying to get some A-listers attached to that film as well. Pretty big stuff.
Well, feel free to look at my friends list either on Instagram or Facebook. You're more than welcome to. I interview a lot of actors, and there might be some of them that would be very interested.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Well, I want to ask you a hard-hitting question, and then you can throw it back at me while we're wrapping up the show. Do you think mental health is a big issue? And do you think that we are not really talking about it, but we're talking about other things that really need to be shedded on?
100%. I feel like mental health is super serious and people should start taking it more serious. We kind of, we've done a good job as a society bringing awareness to it, but now it's time to hit up the big people and tell them that they need to give us the proper care. Let alone for people who don't even have health insurance, the amount of money they have to pay out of pocket just to get proper care. That could be through therapists or psychiatrics. I feel like all because we're bringing awareness to the fact that, hey, some people have mental illnesses, we're not actually getting the real picture and making it more accessible to people, let alone people in poverty, people who may not just have the greatest income or greatest health insurance.
Well, the reason I say that is because the government is so filled on talking about, control, wink, wink, controlling women's rights and telling them what they can and cannot do with their bodies. But anyone can have a gun. I mentioned this a couple years ago. I was scared the shit out of myself because my phone fell over. But like I said, freedom of speech. I mentioned this a couple years ago. People with disabilities, especially if they're bipolar, Those people should be banned from having guns. The last thing you need is someone who blows hot and cold and they're walking around with that. Don't add the gas to the fire. You want to use me for an example? That's fine. Keith, you have a learning disability. No gun. That's fine. Give me a paintball gun. But I don't want a gun. The issue is you have too many people out there. You can do all the background checks all you want till you're blue in the face. You can pay people off. But wouldn't it be better to cut the head off the snake before something happens? You can prevent it from happening. And instead, it's like, no, let's talk about mindless BS in that it doesn't matter. They say prices are going down, prices are going up. You look into inflation, there's inflation. PlayStation announced recently that they're raising their rates on their stuff. But it's kind of like, especially with the CDC saying you wear a mask, don't wear a mask, get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated. It's kind of like, which one is it? It's great to say you want to live in a fantasy land, but you would never get me to go to New York City until things get better, because right now the city's a cesspool. Because you say, hey, you were arrested 15 times. Don't do it again, okay? Don't do it again. Okay, you can go back on the street. What the hell? Anyway, that's my rant. What's your opinion?
I get it.
What's the last 4 minutes? I want to pass it over to you. Was there anything you wanted to promote? Anything you want to ask me? This is your time.
I would love for everybody to follow Katastrophic Films on Facebook and Instagram, and on top of that, keep up with No ID, our feature film. We are trying to get some A-listers, and we're trying to compete with the big studios like Universal and Warner Brothers. And since it's based on a true life story, we're going to have some very sensitive and graphic topics on there that I think a lot of people can relate to. For No ID, it's No ID feature film on Instagram, and then No ID on Facebook. But yeah, pretty much it.
Absolutely. I do have a couple questions for you off the air, but your Instagram will be on the bottom of the screen and your bio. Now, for our listeners, this will be played on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and all social medias. Our goal is to get over 100 views. Make sure to leave your comments, especially on Facebook. When you leave your comment, I get to interact with it, our guest gets to interact with it. Today was a fantastic episode with our beautiful guests. Thank you for being with us. I can't wait for part 2 down the road. But until then, catch you later. Thank you, and have a good night.